This video is sponsored by Forsaken World, Gods and Demons. Out of all the videos I've uploaded to this channel, the most popular ones are without doubt the Megami Tensei challenge videos, and it's easy to see why. Beating games in ways they were never meant to be played is not only fun and rewarding, but it's a great way to squeeze more enjoyment out of an old game you may otherwise be tired of or have no reason to revisit. I wasn't the first and definitely won't be the last person to do videos on MegaTen challenges, and while these videos are a lot of fun to make, they also require some of the most time and work. For one thing, you have to beat the game, then sort through dozens of hours of footage and find a way to somehow condense it all into a single video that's short enough for YouTube. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't me complaining or anything, it's just that I get dozens of requests all the time and I just don't have time to do them all. So, instead of taking God knows how long to do them all and make videos on them, I'm just gonna get it all out by listing some MegaTen challenges that I think you all can and should try. Now, just a quick disclaimer, aside from the ones that I already have done, I don't actually know for sure whether or not all of these challenges are possible. I mean, I imagine they are because pretty much all the games I'm going to be talking about I'm familiar with, and I've done similar challenges with other games, but there's no way to be 100% sure until you do it for yourself. If you do attempt one of these challenges and it turns out to be impossible, there's no shame in that because 1, you're playing a game in a way it's not supposed to be played, and 2, it's just a video game, so who cares? And now that that's out of the way, let's get on with the video. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Forsaken World, Gods and Demons. Forsaken World is a newly released free-to-play MMORPG for iOS and Android. It currently has a 5-star rating from the App Store and a 4.5-star rating from the Google Play Store. This game takes place in a large-scale fantasy world with dozens of locations to explore. If you want, you can even declare and engage in guild wars with and against other players. In it, you have loads of options to create and customize your characters with, such as being able to customize your character's face, their clothing, and even the look of your weapon. And if you ever feel dissatisfied with your character, you can change your character's class at any time and even combine abilities from different classes to create your own unique character build. Combine this with simple yet fun real-time action combat, Forsaken World is a game that will be a familiar yet fresh experience for MMO veterans and casual fans alike. This game just got out of its closed beta state and is currently in its open beta state, and people who did play the closed beta will find a number of improvements from it, such as improved graphics, a new professional voice cast, and will soon be adding the option to change your class's gender. Be sure to check this game out. I'll have a link below in the description, and when you do download the game, be sure to use the code shown on screen to receive Arcania Enhanced Stones, 10 Wing Essences, and 20 Flame Feathers. And also, while you're at it, be sure to follow the game's Facebook page, where updates are posted daily. Once again, I want to give a big thank you to Forsaken World for being my sponsor. And now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the video. Okay, so I'm going to start the video off by talking about the challenges that I have done, starting with the No Fusion challenge. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You play through the game without using the Cathedral of Shadows. You basically just have to recruit demons and use them as they come. Playing a MegaTen game while completely ignoring one of the biggest customization features may sound like a nightmare, but having done this with SMT4 and currently doing it with Devil Survivor 2 on my second channel, it's really not that bad, and if you're someone who is an absolute perfectionist when it comes to fusion like I am, it can actually be a great way to save time. The best thing about the No Fusion challenge though is that it's doable in pretty much every game. Mainline, Devil Survivor, Devil Summoner, and even Persona, though if you do choose to do it in Persona, it does take away a lot of the reasons to do social links, but then again, that could also be said for the other challenges I'll be talking about in this video. Speaking of, my most popular challenges by far are the starting Persona only challenges that I did with Persona 3 and 4. And while I have yet to do it myself, your bud Tevin has a series on his channel of him doing the same thing with Arsene in Persona 5. Again, this challenge is pretty self-explanatory because all you do is you play through the game using only your starting Persona. You have to make sure that you pick up stat bonuses and skill cards to keep your Persona strong. This is a very fun and simple challenge that I think any Persona fan could do, and even though this is most commonly done with the starting Persona, theoretically it can be done with any Persona, like Pixie, Jack Frost, Lilim, Slime, Pyro Jack, although the main issue is that because these aren't your starting personas by default, you have to find a way to modify the game to make them your starting personas. This can also be done in Persona 1 and 2 as well. In fact, despite these being extremely easy games, this would probably be the most challenging, since in these games everyone is designed to be able to use multiple personas, and you can't keep upgrading them like you can in the later ones. And what about my no buffs run of Nocturne? Well, again, this can be done in pretty much every game, though I feel like doing this would be a little bit less of a challenge in other games than it would in Nocturne, because Nocturne has bosses that are designed for the purpose of teaching you the importance of buffs, like Matador for example. But then again, I haven't tried this with any other games myself, so you're welcome to attempt this and then come back to tell me how wrong I am if that turns out to be the case. So, moving on to new challenges, I'm going to start with one that I'm sure everyone was already thinking when they saw the title of this video, and a should-be familiar phrase to any Pokemon fan: the Nuzlocke challenge. For those of you that aren't familiar, a Nuzlocke challenge is a sort of permadeath challenge for Pokemon. The player can only catch the first Pokemon they encounter in each new area, and any Pokemon that faint are considered dead and have to be released. Pokemon fans enjoy doing these challenges because it forces them to rely on Pokemon that they normally would never even consider, and some people like to add their own rules on top of these, like limiting the types of Pokemon that are allowed or randomizing the wild Pokemon. But the ultimate question is, how would a Nuzlocke work for a MegaTen game? The Pokemon rules obviously wouldn't work because, aside from MegaTen and Pokemon both being monster collecting games, they're really nothing alike. For one thing, in MegaTen, demons go down a lot easier than Pokemon do, and the protagonist actually fights. Plus, you have to have the protagonist in your party at all times, so does that mean that if he dies once, the whole run is over? That would be a nightmare considering all the dumb ways to die in MegaTen there are. Sadly, we'll probably never get a defined rule set for a Nuzlocke challenge of MegaTen. However, there is one rule set that I don't know who made, but I have seen pop up a few times on the r/MegaTen subreddit and the Megami Tensei Health Facebook group, and that is the Nocturne challenge, and the rules are clearly listed in the picture. It definitely sounds like a challenge, but it doesn't really address all the problems that I mentioned, and personally, I think it's being a little too punishing, even for a MegaTen challenge, so using this as an inspiration, I tried my best to come up with my own MegaTen Nuzlocke rule set. So yeah, these are my rules for the SMT Nuzlocke challenge. I don't expect this to become the final definitive rule set or anything, so if you do attempt it and you feel like you need to make any necessary changes, go right ahead. Just keep in mind that this list was made primarily with mainline in mind. While on the topic of permadeath challenges, here's one I thought of for Persona 3 through 5 called You Only Live Once. This is an idea I got from a YouTuber called Many a True Nerd. He does Fallout challenges on his channel, and in this one, he played through the entirety of Fallout 3 on a single life bar, aka without ever healing. Obviously, this would not be possible in a turn-based game, but in this challenge, any characters that die cannot be selected again, and if Joker dies, it's game over. So really, it's more of a Persona Nuzlocke. And I know this contradicts what I just said about the Nocturne Nuzlocke, but honestly, all the Persona games, especially 5 and 5 Royal, are some of the easiest in the entire franchise, and there are plenty of ways to cheese your way out of dangerous situations. So I think a permadeath challenge would be a little more fair in this case. The only issue is that in these games, before you get your 5th party member, you can't remove anyone from your party, so you probably have to make it so that if anyone dies before, then you'd have to start over. And in Persona 1 and 2, you can't do this at all because you can't even remove party members in those games. So moving back to challenges that work for most games, this is one that I like to call the Bankruptcy Challenge. Here, you cannot spend money at any point in the game unless the game requires it. That means no shopping, no compendium, and if demons ask for money when recruiting, you have to refuse. And worst of all, no healing at places that require you to spend money to do so. If that wasn't bad enough, in Persona, pretty much everything you do to increase social stats costs money. And in Persona 5, when you ride the train outside the main area, you have to pay a fee, which I think would actually bar you from working on certain social links, though I've heard there is a hidden workaround, but I don't know for sure. Another simple and straightforward challenge that would work with most games would be limiting the types of demons or personas you can use, such as limiting it to only demons of one alignment, or limiting it to demons of the same pantheon, like Christianity or Hinduism, or maybe only using female or male demons. I mean, there's a lot you can do with a challenge like this. Now, this next one is one that's kinda like speedrunning, but not exactly. I'm talking about the Minimum Battles Challenge. This is an idea I got from a YouTuber named JRose11, who does Pokemon challenges on his channel. Mostly of red and blue solo challenges with weak Pokemon, but another one he does is the Minimum Battles Challenge, where he basically rushes through the game as fast as possible while only doing required battles. For MegaTen, this would be exactly the same deal. You would have to just avoid enemies rather than fight them, and if you do get into a fight, you'd have to run away immediately. Though, in MegaTen, this would definitely be a lot harder because that would severely limit the demons you can use, and running away in MegaTen isn't as simple as it is in Pokemon. In fact, if you were playing Nocturne on hard mode, you wouldn't be able to retreat at all. Out of all the challenges that I haven't done, this is the one that I imagine would be the hardest, but also technically possible. You just have to get really lucky. And I would also like to mention that something that was actually brought to my attention by Moody and Caldenza on Twitter is that Strange Journey has an anti-piracy measure that disables random encounters. So, if you can figure out a way to trigger the anti-piracy, this can actually be a great way to make this challenge much more convenient. Although, supposedly the game also randomly corrupts your save data, but this can easily be circumvented by using save states and saving as often as possible. Now, so far I've only focused on the MegaTen games where you can recruit demons, but some people are probably wondering if there are any for Digital Devil Saga, and there are. One that's been suggested to me quite a few times is doing Digital Devil Saga 1 with only your starting mantra line, which would severely limit the skills that you can use. If you're wondering why I'm only saying 1 and not 2, that's because in 2 they redid the mantra growth system into this weird hexagon board thing. It looks like a game of Catan. So, I suppose you could be selective and go with the one that looks like what would be your starting line in 2, but that's completely up to the player. Either way, Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 are some of the hardest MegaTen games, so I only recommend doing this for the most experienced players. One more that I would also only recommend to the most daring is the Solo Challenge. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. No demons, no party members, just the protagonist. This is one that already has several playthroughs on YouTube, so it's definitely possible with a lot of skill and luck. But what really sucks is that it's not actually possible in most games where it really should be. I get a lot of requests to do this with the Persona games, but the problem is, you can't do it with those. Like I said, in Persona 1 and 2, you have no control over the party, and Persona 3, 4, and 5, you can't change members until you get a 5th one, and some parts of the game actually require certain members. I suppose you could say it's possible to do in P3 if you just let your party members die, but in 4 and 5, everyone comes back with 1 HP after battle. One last challenge that I want to talk about is one that I actually came up with as a joke, and that is the All Same Demon Challenge in Devil Survivor. Devil Survivor 1 and 2 are unique in the sense that you can have multiples of the same demon, and in my Devil Survivor video, I jokingly suggested that you attempt to beat the game with all pixies. But now, people have actually been suggesting that I do that, and well, it actually doesn't sound too bad. Problem is, though, is that this is only realistically possible in Devil Survivor 1. Why? Because this game has Magnetite, and once it gets to a certain point, you can teach a demon one of your cracked skills. This is how you're going to strengthen your pixies or whatever other low-level demon you decide to use. But in Devil Survivor 2, this was replaced with fusion add-ons. Without fusion, you can't do anything, but then again, I suppose it is possible, but your human characters are going to be doing 90% of the work. I may attempt something like this in the future, but if anyone wants to try it in the meantime, you are more than welcome to. And yeah, that is going to be about it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and hopefully you guys attempt some of these runs and have fun with them. Also, if any of you have your own ideas for MegaTen challenges, be sure to let me know in the comments. I know this video was kind of short, and I didn't cover every game, but I do plan to make a follow-up to this video sometime in the future, so if y'all have any ideas of your own, be sure to let me know in the comments because they might actually make it into my next video. But yeah, as usual, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check out my links in the description. If you want to support me financially, consider leaving a Ko-Fi donation. And lastly, I want to give a big thank you to Forsaken World, Gods and Demons for sponsoring this video. Until the next video, I will see you all later.